I can't see your screen or just your face. Is it normal like that?
We are now live.
Justin. Yeah.
Okay, let me introduce myself and get the show rolling here. Okay, we are live. Uh, Welcome to the Landscape Photography Group on Facebook. My name is Justin Bowen, and tonight we have a special event planned. If you've seen what we've been posting online over this last week, we're excited to have Daniel Kordan online with me tonight. If you're not familiar with Daniel Kordan, you're in for a treat. He has amazing work, and we're going to talk to him and have him share some tips and tricks and some experiences as a full-time landscape and travel photographer. So, without further ado, um, let me introduce Daniel, and here he is. Say hello to the world, Daniel.
Hey. Hi, Justin. Hello, everyone. Thanks for invitation, Justin. It's my pleasure to talk today to you and to amazing photographers all over the world. Big shiny hello from Bali, from Indonesia. It's a beautiful morning here, and I guess it's already late evening in US, right?
Yeah, it's about 8 o'clock here in Texas. I'm in Texas, Central Daylight Time. But you're clear across the world. It's 9 a.m. over there, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is pretty cool. Technology nowadays, we can do this. We can share this moment chatting about Daniel's amazing work, and he's clear across the world. So, pretty exciting, pretty cool. Um, so, to to get going, let me give a little bit of an outline. Or first off, I'm going to give an introduction of Daniel and give you kind of some of his background. And then we'll jump into an outline of what we're going to cover tonight. Daniel's been gracious enough to spend about, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour with me tonight discussing all things landscape and travel photography. So, Daniel, if you're not familiar, Daniel is a landscape and travel photographer. He's based in Bali, or Bali, some people say, in Indonesia. Um, he's partner in the Icelandic Photo Tours Company, the largest photo tour company in the world. He's has an amazing Instagram account. We're going to get to that in a minute. He's a Nikon, Gitzo, and DJI global ambassador slash partner. Um, does some amazing work in league with them. It's been amazing to look at. And Daniel, all to to our jealous followings, he spends 10 months a year traveling the world capturing breathtaking landscapes, as you'll see. So we'll get to hear what that's like and have Daniel share some experiences there. During the past years, 10 years, Daniel's received many awards. His work's been published in many international publications, including Digital SLR Magazine in the UK, Photography Week. He has an amazing photography masterclass that we'll talk about. He's been in National Geographic, Discovery, Photo World China, just all kinds of amazing publications. And you'll see why if you're not familiar with the work. He also has many notable clients like Apple, S7 Airlines, and Red Bull. I want to ask you about Red Bull in a minute. Um, so, Daniel, once again, thanks for being here. And to get rolling, I think folks want to know where you come from, what your background is, and I have a few questions along the way. But where were you born? Where'd you grow up? What kind of things did you do as a little kid? Just let us know a little bit about Daniel and his background.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Justin. So today, if you want to hear about photography, about landscape photography, and if you want to ask any questions, guys, so please write in the comments, and Justin will ask me later some questions. Maybe in the end of this presentation, in the end of this talk, we'll have some time to answer your questions, to talk to you as well. So just a few words about myself. I actually like to talk about photography more about myself, so a very short one. I was born in Russia. I was born in '89, so now I'm 35 years old. And last 15 years, let's say, I'm traveling around the world. And I used to live in different places around the world, like Italy, like
Oh, looks like we may have lost Daniel for a minute.
so that's the idea of moving to Asia. And currently, I actually just returned from a month-long trip to Vietnam a few days ago, and already tomorrow, I'm leaving to Japan for almost a month. So that's time for me to explore Asian, Southeast Asian region, and that's my current project, my current dedication. So Justin,
Amazing. Amazing. Yes. So, thank you. I have a few questions for you about your background. Let me go through a quick overview of what we're going to talk about the rest of the show. I forgot to mention that. It'd be nice to know what our outline is here. So we're going to go over your background, and then I have some questions about how you transitioned into doing photography full time. I think folks are really interested in that type of process and what it was like to become the type of global traveler that you are. And then after that, we have to talk about your gear. We have to do a gear roundup. I have a few questions about that. I'm sure folks will be interested to hear what you're shooting with, what you're not shooting with, and why. Maybe we'll get to that. And as you're doing that, I'm going to cycle through some of your work so folks can see your work. And then Daniel has agreed to give us a little lesson per se. He's not going to go into great detail, but basically he's going to do some editing for us, going to show us some maybe before and after, and explain his philosophy. And I have some questions on like your color choices, composition, light, how you use those things to create these amazing works that you do. And then after that, we'll go to user questions or viewer questions, as Daniel mentioned. And stay put till the very end. We have a special offer from Daniel. He's been gracious enough to give an offer on some of his training that I want to share with you. So, again, without further ado, I have a few questions, Daniel, about where you grew up. I know you went to school and studied art. Is that correct? Tell us a little bit about that and how that's kind of directed you in your life to become this amazing photographer that you are.
yeah, it was not the kind of college or not a professional school. So basically, when I was a kid, I was painting for about 6 to 7 years. So I think it helped a lot to just understand the colors and to be bold with colors, let's say. So my teacher in the school always tell me, be bold with colors. So don't be afraid to use them. And well, I took this principle into photography and continue with landscape, with colors, with editing as well. So never afraid of using colors and light, just in real life with my camera.
Very nice, very nice. Now you mentioned light. Um, Apparently, you're an optics expert, a physicist. First off, how did you get into that world? What led you to be interested in physics and, in particular, optics? And I'm sure that lends itself to the work that you do, knowing about light and the theory of light and all those things. How'd that work? How'd you come up with that?
Well, actually, by profession, I'm not a photographer, so I was not studying photography in any university. I studied as physicist. Well, most of photographers nowadays, they actually have different background like physics, technology, and engineering as well. I know a lot of people from marketing as well who is doing photography. So it really just embraces all kind of professions. But this background, physics, it definitely helped a lot to understand how to organize things, how to keep myself organized, because planning all these trips, all these journeys that I have, planning all photography tours, it requires a lot of attention. It requires a lot of passion and work, I'd say, behind the scenes. So sometimes going to some place like Japan, like tomorrow I'm going to Japan, it required me to sit for almost a week in front of my computer and plan all the spots, new locations, make some calls with friends, with local guides. So it's a lot of dedication, a lot of planning, and well, it's similar to physics, where and when we get used to solve the problems.
Hmm.
So pretty much I'm doing the same now in
Sure.
photography, solving problems, but problems of composition, of light, of logistics, and everything else. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Yeah.
So you have a great combination. It sounds like of kind of both the left and right side of your brain, right? You're artistic. You have a great vision. I can tell of what you want to compose and create when you're doing photography. But you're very analytic, having a physics background, and you just the way you just spoke about how you plan and all those things. I can tell, and it seems like it'd be a great combination because I imagine knowing when the light is at the right place, the sun or the moon or whatever else associated with that hillside over there that you're going to shoot. I've seen some great photos that you've done, and I know that takes planning to get things where you want them, and or to be in the right place at the right time. So that's a great combination. So knowing uh, science and physics and other analytical disciplines is an important part of what you do. It seems like. Okay, let's see. So before we get to your work, let's do something fun here real quick. This is the lightning round of getting to know Daniel Kordan, okay? So I'm going to ask you a quick question. You have to answer as quick as you can what comes to your mind. You dare?
Okay.
You game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I mean,
I warned Daniel before, so it's okay. Okay, so first of all, favorite movie and TV show?
the favorite movie is Lord of the Rings.
Ah,
So for sure, it's the most beautiful landscape is there.
New
Yeah,
Zealand.
that's my
Yes.
inspiration. And TV show is Game of Thrones.
Ah, nice. That's a great one.
I had the
Okay.
patience to get to the end.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the ending. We don't want controversy here. Okay, let's see. Spirit animal. What's your spirit animal?
I think it's Quokka. You know Quokka?
I don't know what that is. What is that? Oh, shoot. Looks like the spirit animal doesn't want to be known. Let's see. Sorry, folks, technical difficulties. Oh, are you there? Daniel, can you hear me? Well, stand by, folks. Hmm. Sorry, stand by. Hmm. Oh, let's see. I think I got you back. Can you hear me, Daniel?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can hear you well, Justin. Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. I'm not sure. Technology across the world. Okay. You were telling me your spirit animal is.
Yeah, that's actually quokka. It's if you don't know this animal, just Google it. It lives in Australia and it's really hilarious. It's very funny. So if you watch some videos of it, it definitely will make your day.
Is it a bird?
No, that's kind of macropod. It's a small little
Oh,
animal that actually looks a bit like a hamster. It's not. It's called macropod, I think.
okay. Let's blast through the rest of these. Okay, morning or night?
Morning, yes. For
Okay.
photography, definitely.
Coke or Pepsi?
No, I actually hate
No.
it,
Okay,
especially
then.
in Indonesia. Yeah, only juices.
Gotcha. Okay, then coffee or tea?
Coffee. Yeah, I'm a
Coffee.
big coffee
Okay.
person. To wake up in the morning.
Ah. And then I know the answer to this next one: Nikon or Canon. We won't go there.
Wow, how
Controversy.
did you even push this question through? Come on.
Exactly.
Of course I can. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Okay. Next, let's go on. Daniel, I've shot some photography over the last 10 years. Some moments I've been really proud of. Other moments I've started to cry. Um, but I'm sure we're all curious. All landscape photographers who would love to do this full time. We're curious about how you've done it. How you moved from. I think you were a teacher at some point. You're physics by profession. How did you move into being a full-time landscape photographer? And while you're chatting, if it's okay, I'm going to go through some of your work.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So it actually was very smooth transition about 15 years ago or so. I was doing physics, doing my job. I had some, apart from physics, I also have some small businesses like designing business, website construction, and so on. But photography was always a big passion for me, and it's still my biggest passion, of course. So it helps me to travel, to meet new people around the world, and I can't still call it a job. So it's still my hobby, it's still my passion. So the transition was uh, very smooth, I'd say, through the span of 5 or 6 years. So I'm not just quitting my job and doing photography full time. So this is also advice for you, for aspiring photographers. If you have a full-time job and you want to do photography instead, just don't quit right away.
Hmm.
Start traveling, start assembling your portfolio as I did. uh, so basically it's about reputation and about the portfolio that you gain. So I try to be more flexible with time. So I didn't have a full-time job. I had part-time job. So I tried to go for physics for about 2 or 3 days per week maximum. So other days I was working on photography, on trip planning. I had about 2 to 3 months of vacation. Of course, it didn't bring a lot of money at all, but all my first trips were budgets. I was doing hiking, a lot of hiking, traveling with my tent, camping. So with time, with a span of 5 to 6 years, I gained my first images of portfolio, and people already started to asking me to guide the trips, to teach them photography. So this is where I did some private classes via Skype on photography. This is the point where I also started my workshops. I started selling images for the calendars, let's say for the magazines. Back in time, about 10 years ago, magazines still paid photographers for their work. So now
Hmm.
it's opposite, I'd say.
Hmm.
But there are still a lot of ways to how to get the living out of photography. And you need to be pretty much like a Swiss knife man. So
Hmm.
you're alone, absolutely alone, who is doing this business. And here you go. So you just take any opportunity. You're selling your photos, you teaching classes, you teaching online, you creating some courses. So as many things as you see, but you need to be there in this community. That's why also, this is how I meet you, Justin, as well. So I just participate in Facebook groups as well. And I like this community of people who just share beautiful photos. And it's not just expanding your vision, but it's also helping you to connect with other people, to connect with community. So to be connected there and knowing, understanding what's happening in the landscape and travel photography community, well, it helps you also to understand how you're going to work on your future. So if you want to be full-time, like I did myself about 10 years ago.
That's amazing. Such a great story. Uh, is there like a seminal moment when you knew, when you realized, you said, all right, this is going to work for me? I imagine in the beginning you were a little nervous, you kind of alluded to that, but there was a point where you're like, okay, I can do this. This is going to pay the bills. I'm going to be able to take care of my family, and I get to do what I love to do full time. What was that moment? How did that happen?
I'd say there was no a moment like, okay, I quit this and I start this. So no, I'd say it was very smooth transition for myself, because in photography you really need a good portfolio to start with. Well, at least do one trip like for a month, for 2 months, like to Indonesia, gain portfolio, gain beautiful photos, and starting with that, that's already a great starting point for you. But it's just impossible to start from the zero. So you
Sure.
need first to teach yourself about photography. And nowadays it's much easier than it was 15 years ago. It's much easier to learn because of so many courses and so much information. Every single photographer nowadays, he got already his own courses. You can easily just log into his website, start learning from him. We have all the samples. And back then, 10, 15 years ago, we started learning how. We started opening the book, opening first version of Photoshop, and trying to just,
Right.
just trying to experiment, or trying to input instructions from, let's say, Dan Margulies' books. Those
Yeah.
who know, these
Well, I
books
was going
is
to
a
ask,
classics.
do you have a mentor that, or a few mentors that you would say that got you kind of into this world?
I'd say all my friends, they were mentors for myself, yeah, but there were no like icons. Of course, I admire works of, let's say, Steve McCurry is amazing. Then Mark Adamus is my friend. He's also inspiring me all the time.
He's amazing.
Then Max Reeve has amazing photography as well. So just a
Yeah.
lot of friends currently that I travel with, like Albert Ross. We're going to Japan. Basically, I meet him just in 2 days.
Nice.
From now on, he's got absolutely amazing photography, 2 beautiful courses, so you can check him out, Albert Ross. There are many other photographers like Yuri Biligurci, my partner in Iceland. He's got absolutely incredible photography in Iceland, all these volcanoes and waterfalls. And back then, like even we started even when there was no Facebook or no social media. So basically, we were just emailing each other or meeting in person and talking about photography. So this was the start for us.
Yeah, that's
So this has
amazing.
changed
Great,
a lot.
great story. You
Yeah.
mentioned several people that are very prolific in their very epic shots, from around the world, and it's fun to see those images come through on social media. It's amazing. Let's see. So I think it's time to do the gear roundup. If that's okay, I'm gonna. Daniel gave me a slide to share that has a list of his gear, and Daniel, I'm gonna put that on the screen now. Um,
Mhm.
and if you wouldn't mind, will you go through and talk about the gear that you use and why you've selected them? I see mirrorless cameras now. I'm curious about how you made that transition and what it was like. Obviously, all the lenses you had to replace and all that. So, just curious how you chose this particular brand, Nikon, and your experience with it.
Yeah, so pretty much I'm a Nikon ambassador in Europe and worldwide as well, and that's why I'm using Nikon for already like 10 plus years working with
Hmm.
them. I transitioned to mirrorless cameras about 2 years ago. So far, no regrets. So I'd say the weight is almost pretty much the same, but the technology also grows a lot. And I'm currently using Nikon Z8, and I'm so happy about that. It's just incredible how
Hmm.
fast its focus is, and how the performance in the night is great with the noise.
Yeah,
It's
I bet.
just beautiful, beautiful, clean images, even with the highest ISA. So it's Z8. And of course, I'm not taking with me all these lenses that listed on the screen. So pretty much I take with me 14-24, 24-70, and 70-100, or 100-400. So these three lenses, they're always in my backpack. Z8, and the second camera is Z7 II, also mirrorless camera from Nikon. It's a spare camera. Sometimes I'm using it for time lapses, for some backup camera, or maybe shooting with two hands. Sometimes if I can't change the lenses, like in the desert, let's say, a dusty environment. And for tripods, I use Gitsa. It's Gitsa systematic tripods, which are very sturdy, reliable. This is a really good backpack, Gitsa Adventuri backpack, 45 liters, so where I can store all my equipment, sometimes even some extra gear. And the drone is DJI Mavic Pro 3. So this is pretty much what's in my backpack. Sometimes extra lenses I take. Portrait lens, 50 millimeter 2.8. No, 50 millimeter is actually 1.8. That's a mistake
Hmm.
here. My mistake. The 400 millimeter 2.8, I'm using this lens, this f lens from Nikon. So I'm using it for bird photography or for some safari. So I don't need it actually for landscape, but using it for some animal bird photography. So not always with me, only on specific trips.
Right. So I'm curious. That's amazing. It's such a big set there, the Nikon 400. Um, I once went to Africa and I rented a the 600 f4, 600 millimeter f4 lens from
Mhm.
I think Borrow lenses if they're still around, and carrying that on the airplane and trying to go out on safari with it was crazy, but it ended up being an amazing tool to capture some great shots. I bet that 400 is amazing for bird photography and maybe other wildlife
Yeah.
photography.
So Justin, for Nikon users also, they just released 600 millimeter 6.3. So I'm going to transition to this one
Oh,
because
nice.
from reviews it looks amazing, and it's much more lightweight as well. So quite affordable too. So just if you like Nikon,
Yeah,
look into this lens. It's really
I'll have
nice.
to check that out. I'm sure it costs a pretty penny. So, um, quick question. So I shoot with a Nikon D800, and I see that you had an 800 and 810 and 810A. And you mentioned how quickly the Z8 focuses. Did you have issues with the D800 on focus? I remember I had some issues early on, and I made some adjustments, and it came on. I'm assuming they have that all worked out with the mirrorless cameras, and I'm assuming it's a lot quicker.
Well, I think with Nikon cameras, I didn't have any issues. Actually, I had so many situations when I was shooting under waterfalls and in
Hmm.
heavy rain, and this camera still survives. So this camera is listed here. They're not broken. They still actually gift some of them to my friends, to fellow photographers, and right now one of my guides also using one of my cameras here, 850 in fact. So they're very reliable, they're very fast, but well, mirrorless is just the next level technology, and I feel that technology is going there. So Nikon investing a lot in development of new lenses, new equipment. So definitely those who want transition to mirrorless, it's pretty worth it, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
But the
Sorry, go
period maybe
ahead.
for like yeah, period of 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 1 month, when I just getting used to from the optical viewfinder was getting used to electronic viewfinder.
Hmm.
So it took some time, but otherwise, no issues.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, the low light performance, just that's so attractive. Such a nice capability there. Okay, can you hear me, Daniel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think you're frozen up a little bit, but we'll press forward. I am now going to share my screen again, and I'd like to walk through some images that I've selected and just get your thoughts on them in terms of some of your choices, in terms of maybe one, how you got there because they're so epic, um, two, composition, your color choices, and the use of light, and what you have to do to make an image like this work. That's kind of what I'm after. And then after we do this, we can go over to your the editing that you said you'd be willing to do with us. Is that okay?
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
excellent,
so
excellent. Can you hear me
so
now? All good?
yes, yes.
Hmm.
So talk about this
All right.
shot. This shot is just it's one of my favorites. It's so epic. It's incredible. Well, how does this happen? How do you make this happen?
Yeah, that's actually talking about location and time. This is Senja Island in the northern Norway, and in particular, this location called Husfjellet Mountain, Husfjell. So this is the top of the mountain. We hiked there about 3 hours, starting from the bottom from the fjord, and this is actually midnight. The most amazing about this picture, this is midnight. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, we sit there from about 11 p.m. until 2 or 3 a.m. and the sun was literally rolling over horizon. So it was not setting down. That's the most beautiful time in Norway. So that's why I mentioned in the beginning, it takes a lot of time of planning and takes right choices to make when you're doing landscape photography. And right choice, first of all, about the seasons. Let's say now I'm going to Japan. It's November. It's time for red maples. You can get the most epic images out of there. And the same here in Norway. So you can get the most beautiful photos in midnight in
Wow.
summer. But you need to understand which time to go, right? So it's probably,
Right.
I don't remember, I think it was beginning of August, maybe from 1st to 10th of August, you get the most beautiful conditions like that. So you can literally shoot the sunset merging with sunrise for about 5 to 6 hours, just enjoying sitting there, trying different angles, and the sun will be still low on horizon, giving this beautiful light. So that was the story behind this
That
shot.
that's so amazing. So amazing. Okay,
That's
next
actually my
one.
friend there was sorry, Justin. It was my friend there staying on top of the mountain. Also shows the scale. It was not like staged. It's just my friend was enjoying the scenery. But again, it shows a bit of story. It shows the scale of landscape. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So let's go further.
I love those shots. They just communicate the grandeur of these locations that we've a lot of us have never been able to experience. So that's amazing. Okay, what about this one?
Yeah, this is the most recent shot, just taken it last month in October in Vietnam. I don't remember. I had the privilege of traveling there for 1 month with my friend Viet. It's a local amazing photographer. He's actually very famous with a lot of publications in National Geographic. He even got TV series on Discovery. So with this guy, we traveled in Vietnam for almost a month, all the way from the north of Vietnam to the south, 5,000 kilometers, just driving on his small car all over the country. And starting from this spot that's called Ban Geoc waterfall in Vietnam, this is in fact a drone panorama. A drone panorama that I used filters here. I used ND filters on my drone. So this is ND8 filter at sunset. That's why you can see the water is silkish. So it's 1/4 of the second. The
Oh,
drone now
nice.
is so stable, and
Wow.
I use it a lot of in my work. So I use it in about maybe half of the images Here in Asia, that's another big bonus, that using drones, it's quite easy. Although exactly this place, it was a bit complicated because Viet get permission for us to fly. Literally, the left part of the waterfall is Vietnam, and the right part of the waterfall is actually China. Yeah, so you
Wow.
need a permit, not because it's a national park. No, it's not. It's because the border. So basically, Vietnamese military, they require permission from the drone, and Chinese also require permission. So they just communicated, talk to each other, and 2 months Viet was making paperwork just to be able to fly there. So
Wow.
it's, you see, the photography, it's a lot happening behind the scenes. It's not that you just come there, you fly, you get the masterpiece. No, it's just sometimes it's a lot of work behind, especially paperwork on some permits, and this is exactly the moment. But other spots, all other spots in Vietnam, it's actually very drone friendly. So we use the drone a lot, and people are very curious. Kids coming and checking how we're doing. What's this big flying bird up there? They're curious to try controls. It was quite a fun to fly.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing work. I've noticed a few things about your work that I wanted to ask you about. Um, and I didn't realize it at first until I spent some time really looking at what I'm seeing. But I've noticed that you don't have in a lot of the work you don't have extremely dark blacks, and I think that allows maybe a little more detail in the darks. And I guess I remember that from my art class. You never use black, I was told. Is that something that a conscious choice? I mean, I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, exactly. I talked in the beginning a bit about painting. So when I was painting in school, I never used the black color. It was just not with me. So the same idea for photography. I just like doing some soft editing. I'd say I don't like overprocessed images too much. Yes, and it's a special type of editing I will show actually later when when we edit some of my photos and I show you the process. I give you some tips and tricks how to make the blacks
Ah,
soft. If
okay.
the blacks are too hard, they actually too much blacks in the image. For me, the image become too heavy, become a bit like dirty with colors. I try to open blacks all the time. So I will show you later. No worries.
Okay. We're having a little bit of an audio issue. I can hear what you're saying, but it was slightly garbled. Um,
Mm.
let's see. All right, let's.
Just testing how you hear me now.
Yeah, it's a little bit garbled. I wonder technology. Um, well, let's move on. I have a few more images I want to look over. I don't think we can go through them all. Um, but let's look at this one. Nope, that's me. That's us. All right. How about this? How does this
Well,
come to
this
be?
image, yeah, this image we took in Bolivia in Uyuni Salt Flats a few years back, and it was absolutely stunning experience to be there. Well, Uyuni Salt Flats is the largest salt flats on the planet, even from the space station. This from the space station, you can see how big it is. But when you go there in the night and you go out of the car, you switch off all the light, it actually feels like you're in the space yourself. Yeah, so you see the stars not just above you, but you see the stars in reflection below you. So your brain collapses a bit, and sometimes you tend even to fall on the left or right side because you have nothing to basically to orient on. What you see is just space, infinity, no light pollution, just stars around you. So that was the idea. It was a bit challenging though to get there because salt flats is not everyone can drive in the night on the salt flats. Sometimes there are actually big holes in the salt. And there were even cases when tourists on the vehicles, on the rental cars, they just went down under this cork of salt. There is actually water, so you can get stuck there. You can get stuck, you can get inside the holes in the ground. So it's a bit dangerous. So we found this place with water. It was not everywhere. It was March time. Good time to visit here in Bolivia is from January to March. January, it's too much water. I'd say it's a bit dangerous to go. But February or March, you still can find vast spaces with reflections with water like that and can get similar images. So we went in March, also good time for the Milky Way, for the Milky Way position. March is being the best time for that. And it's actually a panorama that I take. It's me in the picture. So I was doing one picture, running there with a headlamp, staying there with a headlamp, running back, reposition the camera, and like this, 5 shots, actually 5 images like that, with myself in every position like this.
And then you stitch them together. Do you use Photoshop or some other application?
This one is in PTGUI, PTGUI. This is application I'm using for night photography panoramas. Sometimes Lightroom works for that, but because the Milky Way is moving, it's shifting, the PTGUI does the best job for stitching night photography images.
I see. What exposure is it on this particular photo on each shot?
For every shot here, it's 20 seconds, 2.8 ISO, 4000 here.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite, you had to hold still quite a bit.
Yes, 20 seconds actually. I needed to stay still, and well, it worked out. But I'd say not from the first shot. So I needed to do 3 or 4 different exposures to be stable like that. So if you zoom in, you can still see the hand a little bit, just a little bit wobbly. Yeah.
Still amazing. Still amazing. All right, I'm going to do 2 more shots real quick, and then I'll turn it over to you. Is there a story to tell about this shot?
Yeah, this shot is actually super relaxing comparing to all other images that you show. It was taken in Madeira, actually from the balcony of my hotel. So I was sitting with a glass of Porto wine on the balcony with a long lens in the storm, and just experimenting with the rocks in front of me. So as you see, sometimes you just need to relax and to balance a bit. So that's actually a good moral here, good point, that I'm not always hiking or not going in the mountains all the time. Sometimes you just need to get yourself a break, otherwise you can burn very easy. Yeah, so I'm trying to balance the trips. From hiking trip, I go to some cityscape trip, maybe some comfortable trip and good resorts, good hotels, and then going to some expedition again. But it's all about the balance in your life.
Amazing. That's so amazing. So the reason I asked that is I thought this might be a shot where you fell in the water. So that wasn't this, but would you be willing to share that, and maybe any, your crazy experiences where you need to be careful when you're out there?
Yeah, we had a lot of crazy experiences. So the last one is, as you mentioned, unfortunately, I had some accident a few months ago in Indonesia. So I was literally caught inside of tsunami. I have this image somewhere, so maybe while I'm talking, I can find it and later on share the screen with you.
Sure.
To show the image. But it was in Lombok Island a few months ago. So we were shooting sunrise, very quiet, beautiful place, just no waves. Everything was very calm. And then suddenly out of nowhere, this big wave starts striking. Just before that, a few seconds, in fact, the sea surface has become quite rough. So like boiling. surface of the water. And just after that, just 5 or 6 meter tall waves start striking, and it was very scary. So first waves just literally took us from the rock we were standing. We were standing on the high ground, and everything happens very fast.
Dangerous to
It's
go.
much faster than I'm
But,
talking right
February or
now. So
March,
you
you
don't have time to run or to escape. And there was a big rock behind us, so also no place to escape from that. So unfortunately, all my equipment it was gone, but we managed to survive. Me and my guide Jack from Lombok, we managed to survive. We walked 1 hour back to the hospital. I was all bleeding, so basically the blood I had 2 concussions in my head.
Wow.
They put the stitches later. I had all the cuts all around my body. I still have all the bruises left from this accident. And yeah, I found this image, so let me open it, and I can share the screen to show
All
you.
right.
It actually was the last image of my camera. So let me share the screen. Entire screen
Hey,
here,
Daniel.
so you can see.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I lost your camera. Your screen share.
Yeah, can you see my screen share right now?
No, it disappeared. Can you turn off the screen share and turn it back on, and I will reconnect.
Sure. Yes. So one more time, the screen share. All right. Here you go.
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Yes, I can. Let's see. There we go.
Yeah, so this is the image. Pretty much, this was the point already when the sea surface became quite rough here. But while we were standing on top of the rock like this, like in front, and unfortunately there was no place to escape. So what we did, just
Dangerous to go.
continue shooting. So yeah, if you in situation like that, of course, better not to be in a situation like that at first place. So that's why we always check the tide. So we check that the tide is low at these places. You can check it online. A lot of applications, websites, just input low tide and the name of the place you're going to. And then you understand if it's correct time to come. And then the second thing that helped me is the brace position. So try to brace myself to protect my head, to protect my body, and try to just swim out of this. It was like a washing machine. So basically, I already said goodbye to everyone when I saw these waves and so it's dragging me. And well, it was painful week, 1 week in hospital. After that, it was not a good accident at all.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
so
goodness.
hopefully nothing like that will repeat again with none of you guys. Just take special care. Not a single shot worth your life. That's
That's
must
amazing.
remember thing.
That's quite an experience. Quite an experience. Well, well then let's switch over since we're on your screen now. Why don't we switch over to your work? Actually, where are we? Yeah, if you want to share your screen again, then and show us kind of some process that you go through when you're editing an image, that would be great. Let us know kind of the process, the steps you take, the decisions you make, you know, to make a Daniel Kordan image.
Yeah, sure, guys. So good that you survived until this moment. Yeah, so now I'm going to share my screen, so hopefully you can see it. You can see it well on the streaming. So here you're supposed to see my Lightroom screen. Can you see it well, Justin?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So it's all about actually about your approach, how you approach to the editing. Of course, if you don't have good source image, then well, there is nothing to talk about. You can't make candy from some bad image, right? So first of all, you must think about the light, the composition, and then the editing is like a cherry on top of the cake. So
Yeah.
actually, we have a lot of comments even in the group that people blame each other. This is AI and this is not good. So myself personally, I don't use AI like Midjourney, but I guess most of us start using it in Lightroom. So in Lightroom, there are a few nice features like masking, subject selection tool. So that's all part of AI as well. So yeah, we all kind of using it, but not to the extent that we replace it by existing real life experiences, which is the essential part of photography to me. And here we go. So I'm going to Japan in 2 days, and I'm so excited about that again. So I picked up a few photos from Japan just to show you some basic editing on them, some principles of editing, I'd say. So the main principle for me is color grading. So this is the number one thing. So when you open the image, I think about different color combinations, let's say. So here I have some presentations from the past. Just a quick introduction about color grading. Just my first advice for you, for those who start editing, just check the color theory, check the different color combinations to get some inspiration where to start from. Because the most frustrating what I see from my students, from my photography courses, that people don't know how to start, how to make this first step in editing. And color theory, it helps a lot. Basically, there are a few color combinations that look very good together. Let's say monochromatic color combination, it's very simple, it's winning, it's minimalistic. Complementary, where we have two colors opposite each other on the color wheel. Split complementary, three colors split together. Analogous colors, very compelling, very beautiful color combination when we pick up 2 or 3 colors that stay together on a color wheel. And this is what we're going to apply today. A bit of the color theory based on the images that I have here prepared for you. So, okay, enough talking, just get to the practice. The practice we get first thing in color mixer, not in color, but color grading here. The Lightroom has a new feature here. It has the new point color tool. So if you didn't update the Lightroom, it's time to do it because it's a very helpful thing. You can pick up any color, like the green one here. And this is the way how you can change it. So now you can kind of replace it by another color. You see only the green is changing. So from yellow to the greens like that. Yeah. So you can even desaturate it completely and get kind of monochromatic color. So get just one color. The image was very busy. So the idea of the post-processing for this picture is to make it monochromatic. That's why I pick up the green color. I can pick up the yellow color as well here. Let's say this one, the yellow, and shift it more towards the reds, like that. So shift the color to the reds. And this is simplifying the image. It's simplifying the color, making it less busy. So that's the idea. So I can pick up another one, let's say the green color here, and I can desaturate the color. I can change the
Do it because it's
luminance.
very helpful.
You see just the luminance of the yellow, of the greens is changing. So I will put it down like that. And we almost have just the red color. So then the next step will be just some basic adjustments like increasing the contrast, decreasing highlights and whites slightly, so opening them like that. But again, discussed with you, Justin, that I don't use the blacks at all, and I promise to show you what I do with the blacks. As you can see, the image become probably a bit too dark. Yeah, we also losing some nice details here in the deep shadows. So what I do, I go to the tone curve in Lightroom or Photoshop, whatever you are using, it doesn't matter. Yeah, what matters is the principle of editing. Pick up the black point and lift it up. But we lost the contrast in mid-tones, so the image become a bit more flat. We opened up the blacks, but we also lost the contrast in mid-tones. That's why I created one more point here and drop the curve down, keeping the same kind of dark mood for the image. Creating another point approximately in the middle and lifting it up like that. So you see what we just did. So one hand we opened up the blacks, but on the other hand we increased the contrast in midtones. So we lost the contrast in blacks, but we give back the contrast in midtones. So the image is still, it's beautiful, it's nice in midtones, but we already start seeing what's happening behind in the blacks. And the image has this kind of velvet, nice look. Yeah, so if you see on histogram here, always look on histogram, you can see that we don't have any blacks. It's also really beautiful to print images like that because you won't have this dark black anymore, but you will have nice smooth details behind the black. And still the image, it's not becoming rough, it's not becoming busy with the contrast, so it starts looking nice and soft. Another way to soften the image, to bring its kind of magical soft look, which is the part of my personal editing style, I recommend to decrease the clarity, decrease dehaze, maybe -20, -10 for clarity and dehaze accordingly. But again, if you decrease the clarity, you start losing details of the image. So how to bring back details after decreasing the clarity? You can go into details section. So let me find it here, detail. And you increase the sharpening, but you need to mask it out. And I'm masking it out. If you're using Mac, you can click on option click, and then change the masking. And then you can see until you get only the sharpest silhouettes of the edges of the temple, of the trees. So I'm asking about 80 to 90. It depends on the image, how the image looks like initially. So that's why it's kind of experiment. I'd say from 60 to 80 normally. So this is how you bring back the sharpening, the sharp details. Because the clarity, of course, it distracts all the nice details. The image become a bit too soft, a bit fake, I'd say, looking like. So after decreasing the clarity, you must restore the details. That's the idea of this step. Another idea of the editing is keeping the eyesight. I'd say this is actually the idea of the composition at first place. So keeping the eyesight within the frame, within the middle of the frame, like the classical, let's say, iconical painting that you can find in the churches, that the Trinity icon painting, that you have 3 elements and your eyesight is kind of circulating within the frame. And the idea with landscape is the same. So just
Look like I lost you, Daniel. Let's see.
is 20, put the midpoint closer to the center of the frame. And this is how you decrease the attention from the borders of the frame. So you increase attention to the middle part of the frame, to the temple itself.
Right.
So that's a quick editing. Yeah, you can check before and after. So not so many changes. Again, I don't like to over process my images, but still it become quite stylish, I'd say. The color combination become monochromatic, all colors closer to the red together. We eliminate annoying colors like green and blue and make the image a bit softer. So it's actually almost ready for the printing. I have some more examples here. So quickly I can run through one of my favorite shots like this. So this image
it's gorgeous.
Is from Camargue. Yeah, that's from France, from Camargue, one of my favorite photography tours with Camargue horses. I call them white angels. So you see this is the edited image. And Well, I always have this one guy who tells me before image was much better. I hope we have this guy today as well. But well, actually, yes, I partially agree with that always because this is a silhouette image. It's also beautiful. Yeah, with the silhouette image, you can also see, you can feel the motion, you can see the beautiful light on the hair of the horses. So both images, both styles, they can exist.
Oh
But the
wow.
question is about style. Yeah, how you form your style and about consistency as well.
Hmm.
So when you edit your images, try to be consistent about the colors you're using, about the style of images you're using. I myself prefer to use kind of soft looking bright images that full of air, that full of light. So this is my personal style.
Hmm.
So if you keep to the dark, to the moody style like that, probably your style like this. That's also why I wanted to show you this image. Is just a good example how two different edits, they can exist and they can be both of them, they can have place.
When
But
you bring
anyways,
up
so just
when you bring up the light on that shot, I'm assuming you had to deal with some noise a bit, and or did the Z8 just take care of it for you? It was so nice.
this is actually a bit older image from past years. I think it was taken on 850, on the 850 with 70 to 100 lens. It's 1 over 800 at f13 and ISO 320.
Hmm.
So of course we may have questions. So why you didn't shoot it bright at the very beginning? Well, the horses are moving. I can't use the bracketing here.
Right.
And what happens if I shoot it too bright? Like I use not, let's say f13, I use f5
Hmm.
instead, or I use ISO 800. Then the sky will be overexposed.
Yeah.
So this was the idea here, to preserve the golden sky, not just the horses, but I didn't want to like put the fake skies later on. So I wanted to have the image properly exposed and to be able to restore the skies.
Right.
That's why I needed to make one shot. For landscape images, we quite often use the bracketing, so plus minus 2 steps of exposure. Let's say there's one of my images from Bali here. This is the classical landscape. Yeah, so we use the dark exposure, we use the bright, we do HDR, and well, the left is easy. But what about this image with horses? So with horses, it's really helpful now to use denoise
Hmm.
AI in Lightroom. So again, this is AI. Yeah, so it's really funny when people like start blaming each other about use the AI,
Right.
because most of us, we actually already start using it, but again, to the extent that the image is still real. So we don't place any foreign elements like huge
Right.
moon over landscape and then claiming it's a real shot. I
Exactly.
don't
Yeah.
have anything bad with composites or AI. I don't do it myself, but if people state honestly that this was made as a composite, it's okay. It's also the part of the art. But anyway, so this is the here denoise AI, so I can apply it, and it's absolutely amazing. So what you need to do is just apply it to the image, wait a little bit because it's a bit slow, so it takes maybe 2 to 3 minutes per image. So sometimes I'm just applying it for the whole bunch of images, especially for the drone
Hmm.
shots. And after that's done, you can see how clear, how clean is the texture, let's say, of the horses' bodies. And it still will be a raw file, giving us all the possibilities of editing. So again, I will just quickly edit this image for you. So I developed myself a whole system how I edit images on the go, because most of them I edit in airplanes, in the cars, very fast. So guys, if you want to see my full workflow, just maybe Justin will put it in the group. We'll put the link, and also special deal for our landscape group as well. But meanwhile, so let me open exposure like this. Look how nice and clean all the textures
Wow.
here. It's really beautiful. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know if you can
amazing.
see it on the live stream, but it's really nice and clean here. So what I do, I just opening the blacks, or opening shadows like that, not until it gets totally white out, but just a little bit like this. And of course, trying to save the highlights from the sky. So
Yeah.
that was the main point
Yeah,
here.
it's always a little bit of a trade-off when you're working with lovely skies and whatever foreground you have. It's a challenge sometimes. Yeah, it's nice to
So
know
here
that
we go.
even you have to you know put some extra effort into to bring that out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's many tries, many experiments here as well. So I'm just also trying to balance the color. So not just only the yellow color like this. Of course, I want to have a little bit colder color in the bodies of the horses,
Hmm.
just versus the golden light of the sky. So keep a bit variety of the colors. This is
Yeah,
also the key of the editing. So I don't want my images to be candy like this. Yeah, just splitting it a bit. So always keeping the diversity of the colors, one
yeah,
of the principles here.
nice
So
balance.
also, yeah, a bit of magenta as well, so you don't have it. And then I use a lot of gradients as well. So the key to the editing is understanding the light source, so where the light comes from. So now it comes from the right side, from the right corner. That's why I can create one more gradient to the right corner here, open up the exposure, but decreasing highlights and whites, but opening up the exposure for the right corner
Hmm.
like this, like that, as you see, just adding a bit more contrast. But on the contrary, from the left side, from the left corner here, I will increase the contrast and I will decrease the exposure, kind of enhancing this light and shadow situation.
Sure.
Yeah, so always understand where the light comes from, because sometimes it's really weird to see when people edit images and see that the light source, the sun was setting from the right hand side, but the light sometimes coming from the left. It's not possible. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just always understand the initial situation with the light
I'm not a
and try
physics
to
expert,
enhance.
and I know that that's true.
Yeah,
Definitely true.
exactly. It's easy to. It's very easy sentence, but well, it's just the key principle of the editing, just enhancing what you have. It's impossible to, let's say, make the sun in this image. You must edit it as it is, just enhancing and picking up
Yeah,
the most beautiful things from the initial situation.
that's
Yeah,
amazing.
but anyway, so
Amazing
that's
work,
pretty
Daniel.
much how the image almost looks like. So I did some softening effects in Photoshop, but it's totally different story already. As you see, I removed the rider here, so I don't like the look of the rider. The rider always must run next to the horses. So this is how the horses actually accelerate. They
Oh,
how they jump from the water. So they run all together like one herd. So when the
I
rider
see.
starts to run from behind, the horses start running in front of him. And well, we had many cases. Then horses, they had this kind of strong temper, and they said, "Okay, enough," and start like laying in the sand or even just
Wow,
running back to the picture. So it's not easy. So just maybe
that's
hundreds of tries, thousands of images.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's amazing work.
yeah.
My wife loves horses. She's gonna love these shots. I'm sure she's enjoying this at the moment. Um, well, we are almost out of time. In fact, I think we're a little bit over, but um, I wish we could have another hour because there's so many questions I would love to ask about your experiences. What you just talked about the horses brought up a lot of questions about, in the moment when things aren't going quite right, what do you do? How do you salvage the expedition? Things like that. But that's something we can maybe talk about next time. Um, One thing I wanted to ask before I go on to the gracious offer that you've offered the group, I wanted to ask this real quick. As I watch you edit, um, you did a fair amount in Lightroom there. Would you say what percentage of work editing would you say is in Lightroom versus Photoshop versus other tools you use?
I'd say in Lightroom now I'm doing probably 60 to 70% of work in Lightroom,
Wow.
especially with the introduction of AI masking, sky selection, with all the HDR tools, panoramas. So all of this I do in Lightroom, but Photoshop I do for fine tuning of the image. Let's say for dodge and burning, for luminosity masking, there is still a lot of work. So the more you work with small details under your image, the more beautiful, compelling the image is.
Sure.
So it's not just about this overall editing. So my principle of editing, I developed a system where I edit the images layer by layer or parse by parse. Let's say foreground, it needs one type of editing, maybe some improving highlights or dodge and burning. The sky, it needs a bit of treatment with some color grading, sometimes separate from the foreground. So the idea is to separate elements of the image, go into small details, starting with the sky and then continue even to little things like the bridge, the
The
temple
green.
in Japan image, or the horses, like removing the rider, working with these fine details of all the splashes under the feet of horses. So it's
You can
actually
spend a ton of
actually
time,
quite
can't you?
yeah, quite a lot of fine tuning, I'd say, using a bit more advanced
Yeah.
techniques like luminosity masking and but especially color grading techniques.
Yeah.
So people really underestimate this part. They start just pulling randomly all the sliders in Lightroom, but no, it doesn't work like that. As I mentioned, everything starting with your idea
Mm.
about the image, with your imagination, how the image should look like in the end, which color combination you see through the image
Yeah.
here, and well, starting with that, starting with the color theory, color combinations, this is a good point.
Nice. Interesting. So much goes into creating a beautiful image. Hey, we do you have time for maybe one or two questions from the viewers? We didn't get to that. If that's okay, let me go to the comments here and see if I can pull out a few questions that we could do. Let me see. Um,
Pick up the
okay.
most tricky ones, please.
Say
I
what?
like tricky questions.
Yeah.
The most tricky questions.
Okay. Let's see. One guy. Let's see. Where did it go? Okay. He was asking about stock photography. Let's see. So let's see. The name. I think it's Lone Oppersen, something like that. It says, "Are stock photography sites worth it nowadays, or should we rather focus on building your own website?" Oh no. Sorry, guys. I think I lost Daniel for a moment.
Hi,
There you are.
Justin.
Hey, I
Yeah, I'm
lost you for
back
a
for the
minute.
question. Yeah, no worries. I'm always coming back. Yeah.
The
So
greens
the
is
question about
changing,
stock
so
photography. No,
Yeah, I
myself,
lost
I
you for
never
a minute.
used the stock photography. And well, actually, I used it about 12 years ago as experiment. So I registered on Shutterstock. And then I realized that you're basically just giving your images away for nothing. It's just a few cents from every of the sale. The stock images, the look of the stock images, they're pretty classical, you know, that there's people in the office with some coffee mugs. These images are selling, but not the beautiful landscapes. So people mostly need who's going to the stock images, particular look of the images. Let's say with people with oversaturated green grass, maybe like Windows XP
Oh wow. Yes.
screensaver. Yeah, this kind of shots. But
Right.
if it's art, no one will need it. Maybe someone will buy it. It will be distributed all over internet, and
Yeah.
then well, you're just losing the rights of your image, I'd say.
Yeah.
So
I
it
dabbled
becomes
with it for a bit, and it's just, it's ridiculous. You can't make any money that way unless you have a
yeah.
bazillion images, and I just don't know how that works. So,
But I really suggest you to concentrate on your own brand, on your own website and your own brand, and try to offer your images let's say here, if you want to market, if you want to sell, I suggest the principle of 100 letters, principle of the 100 mails. That's what I used also quite a lot when I needed some money, I needed some project in the beginning of my career. So what is that? You write a letter, you write email, maybe just a small one, like A4 size email. Let's say you need a new lens for a particular project. So you write template, why you need those lens, what you're going to do with that, how beautiful the images will be on the lens that you bring, and you send it to Sony, you send it to Nikon, you send it to Sigma, to Tamron, just all kind of lenses brands. And maybe someone will reply you and, okay, we have this lens, your email was so nice and we're really looking forward to see beautiful
wow.
shots. This is the lens for you. Actually, I use this kind of approach to get some hotels, get some cars for my projects. So this is what I did for my photography to help myself with some resources in fields. That's the idea. And
That's a
then
great idea.
what else? Yeah, what else
Okay.
helps for selling? Actually, it's not really selling, but I have very interesting story and interesting information to share with you, that you can use some services like photoclaim.com actually to
What?
find people who
Say it
stole
again.
your images. Photoclaim.com.
Oh, got it.
So these services, they help you to find copyright violations of your photos. And
Okay.
through the pandemic year, when I'm actually I had no work, I had no tours, and our tour company was kind of very low in COVID times, then doing these cases for stolen images, it helped me to survive. So we had about 2,000 cases on stolen photos from basically they do all the job themselves. Yes, so they find the images, they find the matches between images, and you just mark the case, and you receive kind of 50% of the amount of money that, well, some companies that used your photos will find for.
Oh,
So there were
wow.
tour companies that used my images, that were some bigger companies like news agencies that also violated my copyright. Of course, I didn't charge like individual people, so it's all about the company thing that they really don't care about that. But it's actually good, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
nice.
a.
It's nice.
It's going to be quite a problem nowadays with, you know, with social media and how much you and other great photographers share. I'm sure it happens all the time. And in fact, in the landscape photography group, we just went through a cleanup of a few particular users who were taking images and sharing them on all different social media sites as if they're their own. And I don't know much about what became of it and how they were using them, but it happens all the time in the group. People share photos that aren't theirs, and I guess sharing it in the group isn't near as bad as maybe taking it off and trying to somehow make money with it. But still, it's just not very classy. I mean, give credit to these great photographers like yourself who've spent so much time and effort to create these amazing works. All right, let's do one more question, and I think I understand the question. It's by, it looks like Jose Tenwatko. Pardon me for the pronunciation. But the question is, do you usually struggle between traveling to epic locations versus gear upgrades, like us regular photographers? And I think he's talking about the cost. So if you're going to travel and go to epic locations, how do you balance that versus upgrading with gear? I think that's the question. What do you think about that question?
Well, I'd say it's always about the investing in traveling at first place. So when I get the camera, I can even get good photos on D8 800. Let's say if I had this same setup I had 6 years ago, I would still have good photos, but good photos from the well planned trip. So it really depends a lot how you plan your trips at first
Hmm.
place. Where you go, which season you go. So when you go for sunrise or sunset, so basically just concentrate on that. I met a lot of people who just collecting the gear, collecting the cameras, lenses, talking all the time about that. But that's not my approach to photography.
No.
For me, cameras is just like a working horse. I just put them under waterfalls in Antarctica, in the snow, just in the deserts of like Dubai, Morocco, whatever. So just using my gear at its maximum. But what matters most for photography is how you plan your trips, how you manage compositions, how you plan the light. So please concentrate on that. Concentrate also on your knowledge, how you editing your photos.
Hmm.
So also
Yeah.
editing means a lot nowadays. So invest in that. Get some courses from other photographers. I have my own courses here, as you see. Then I mentioned Albert Dross, photographer. He's got absolutely incredible course. So imagine you study, you just sit now for a month, you study 3, 4 photographers, and you get so much knowledge that took me 8 to 10 years to study myself when we don't have YouTube, when we didn't have
Yeah.
any yes,
Things have
any media
changed.
that we have now. Yeah.
Well, Daniel, I don't want to take much more of your time. I am so grateful that you took time out of your day right before going to Japan to come spend time with us and our group. I'm sure people in the group are extremely grateful as well. Um, so I just can't thank you enough. Your work is very inspiring. It's something that, every day as I'm scrolling, checking out the amazing work, I see something from you, and it's very brightens my day. It's an exciting time to be in the photography world. All the amazing photographers out there, and you included. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your talents. Um, and everyone, I just want you to know that Daniel's been gracious enough to share a special a discount on his master class with us. I'm going to cut to that right now. He has, I guess, Daniel, you can chime in, these 6 different parts of his masterclass series. I'm not sure if they're all in one full episode or
They are,
is that
yes,
correct?
all of
Okay.
them in one bundle. Yeah.
So they're all bundled together, and Daniel's gracious enough to give our group members $30 off if you use this link and use the code landscape. I'll put the link in the group. I'll share it in the group. I'll share it in the live in the event. Sorry, as well. So you can go through and take advantage of that offer. It's something that not everyone has access to. So please take advantage of it. I'm sure Daniel yeah, would love to share that with you. So thank you so much, Daniel. Is there anything you want to say, last words before we sign off?
Yeah, thanks for invitation, Justin. And guys, remember to share your photos in the group, Landscape Photography. Of course, you're my best inspiration as well. So when we share amazing photos, it inspires a lot each of us to go and check these locations ourselves. And remember, also be kind to each other. Yeah, if you also commenting, if you're writing each other, try to encourage instead of like criticizing. Yeah, sometimes good critique is actually very helpful, but please be kind to each other, especially when traveling as well. Try to help each other with everything information is needed. So, well, and see you around the world.
It's great
Bye
advice.
bye.
Great advice. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. Take care. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, yeah, see you.